What's happening, everybody? Andy here. I am here today with four esteemed guests. We are talking print management. We have a great panel today. There are three main topics we're going to cover. We're looking to talk about cloud. We're talking about security and sustainability in the print industry. I have joining me today Mark Hart, Dominick Bracero, Robbie Morris, and Martin Janus. And we're just going to go around the room and just have you guys introduce yourselves, your companies, and a little bit of background. Mark, why don't you start?
Hey, good morning and afternoon, everyone. Andy, thank you very much for allowing us to be part of this panel and be part of this group here. There's a lot of smart individuals, and I'm just glad to be part of it. So my name is Mark Hart. I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Business Development for ACDI, and been with ACDI now 10 years. It's hard to believe that this is my 10th year with the company. Been in the industry for 26 years. I know I don't look that old. But I am, right. I'm not wearing a hat to cover my bald head like Andy, but that's okay. It's a good thing. But no, we're excited to be here and talk about print management and the world of sustainability, security with the cloud and all that. It's top of mind for everybody right now. So we're excited to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Dominick, give us some background.
Yep, great. Yeah, good morning or afternoon or evening for some of you. Dominick Bracero with ecoprintQ. I serve as the Vice President of Sales and Marketing, supporting the Americas pretty much. Been in the industry for roughly 20 years, not as long as Mark. I'm a little younger than he is. No, I'm just joking. But not as good looking, I got to tell you. But we basically support, all of the channels, regardless of whether it's OEM or dealer channel. I've held various roles in my past, working for the OEM side or dealer side, supporting the channel pretty much. And yep, and that's me, Dominick Bracero. Great to meet you.
All right, thanks, Dominick. Martin, how about you? Give us some background on MyQ and your journey.
Yeah, so I will join also your speech about how long I'm in the industry. So we just celebrated 30 years. So I entered it really when I entered the high school, and I never left this out. So this is my background. Just in the middle, we created the company MyQ, and we are here to represent our ideas and visions. I'm working for MyQ as a CEO, but I'm not the real CEO. I'm something like a papa of everything what is necessary to be done. But to be honest, our team is more and more mature, so they are calling me less and less. So I don't know if it is good or bad, but I'm really proud that our team is able to fulfill all the goals we planned. So that's my role, and I will give the word for Robbie.
Excellent. And Robbie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Andy. Happy to be here today. So I am fairly new at MyQ, but I've been in the industry for about 11 years with one of the OEMs, spent several years in a solutions role as well as marketing. Kind of one of my first interests into the corporate environment. I came straight to work in the printing industry, and someone told me once toner's in your blood, it's never going to get out of your blood. So I see my career continuing in this industry, but with MyQ, I work as a solution specialist, really focused on pre-sales support for our partners.
Awesome. All right, good background. So exciting panel here. So we have two distributors for PaperCut, and then we have the MyQ side of it. So two of the biggest names in the print management world, I would say, and certainly well versed in some of the topics that we're going to discuss. So let's jump right in. We're going to start with cloud, and Dominick, we're going to start with you. Talk about your experiences transitioning print management solutions to cloud. What were some of the challenges that you guys are seeing? You support a lot of dealers. You guys are both you and ACDI are really you exist to support dealers. So from that perspective, let's talk about transitioning that to the cloud. How did that go, or how is it going?
Yeah, I think print management solutions and transitioning to the cloud. I think the transitioning and challenges run parallel, and the root of having a successful transition really, revolves around understanding your customer specific requirements and understanding what cloud means to them, because every day we deal with different scenarios and everybody understands what cloud is differently or may think cloud or what they want to be done in the cloud is different than what it is actually what they're asking for. So what I mean by this is depending upon their needs, and we may recommend a private cloud, public cloud, or perhaps a hybrid solution. So to recap it real quick is one of the key elements is understanding the organizational goals, what the shift is to the cloud means to them, whether it's corporate mandates, whether it's regulatory compliance, understanding what their existing user and print administration needs are, understanding their current infrastructure, whether or not they want BYOD, managed devices, understanding their desired print workflow, whether they currently using secure print, whether or not they want to use direct print, whether they want to migrate into secure print or not, or find me printing, or just it's basically the challenges coupled with identifying the need and the solution up front. If you're able to successfully identify what cloud means to the customer, what their ask is, then the challenges are greatly reduced.
So that does make a lot of sense, right? I mean, cloud is just, it's ubiquitous word now. It's everywhere, and so customers are asking for it, and without actually knowing why they're asking for it, what it means to them, and what advantages. So we have seen a lot of on-prem and kind of making another push, and maybe the hybrid approach. A lot of customers are starting to look at that and pull back a little bit from the cloud. It does seem there's a lot of opportunity there, but customers are starting to reevaluate. So great answer right there, Dominic. Thank you for that. Mark, let's move on to you and talk about advantages when you're in print management. What now versus where we were a couple of years ago, maybe 5 years ago, when everything was on-prem. Now that we're really moving into the cloud, everybody's got a cloud solution. What do you think the advantages are for the customers, for the dealers? Where do you see things?
I'm going to go back and look at it from a dealer perspective, Andy, and the OEMs, because ultimately it's a way to enable them to sell in new ways. What Dominic and the rest of us are saying is, when you go talk to a customer, buzzwords cloud, where are we going? What do we need? Cloud, this, that. There's a lot of different aspects of cloud. Most of us are using it on our iPhones and storing photos and things like that, right? But the dealers have to really get down and talk to their customers to find out what they need. And what I love the most about the approach that we've been taking is enabling our sales rep, or the dealers at sales reps, to be able to say yes. When you go into a customer and you have to have that consultative approach, ask them what they need. Is moving printing to a public cloud really the best thing for them? Is it that mission critical? How well is their internet capabilities? Is there downtime, uptime? So you have to kind of get back to asking the customer where they are and finding out which approach they need to take. So that gives the dealer that ability to go into that customer and be stickier, right? To be able to say, I have a solution for you. Do you want it on-prem? We have you. Do you want it in a private cloud, hybrid cloud, to where maybe your headquarters is on-prem, but your satellite offices are using a public cloud type of environment, whatever that may be? Or maybe you're a small business, you don't want to manage anything on your environment. Let's just put it out in a public cloud and let's go. There's not an answer that's, the silver bullet. It's one size fits all. It's that hybrid approach. And that's what I love about, the approach of print management in the cloud. I got a really good friend of mine. He might be on this call. He said, when we look at the cloud, it's sky's the limit, right? Let's talk about where we want to go with cloud. And that's it, right? You want to enable the dealers and their reps to be able to go out and go to a customer, and they ask all these questions, and the answer is yes, I can help you.
Well, it certainly facilitates conversations and gives salespeople a good reason to be in there, and honestly justifies their existence in the account. This is why they're not just customers aren't just buying this stuff online and try to plug it in themselves. They do need help. They do need some consulting. Martin, let's look at the future. Where do you see cloud technologies going in print management down the road?
Yeah, I think I believe that we really need to look at the cloud from a bigger picture. This is really important. I would probably compare the initiative to go to the cloud like to transfer from the standard vehicle to EV, because it looks the same, but it's totally different. And if you use the new technology in the old way, then you will not reach its whole potential. So that's why when we look at the context, especially of a new way of using it, we will find that let's say original on-prem print management solution has served us very well for the needs of the one specific organization and very often in a one specific location. But the cloud brings us the freedom in terms of who can use it and where they can use it. And it's really, really important, because this is this is basically the fundamental change that can significantly increase our total savings, and also it can heavily and positively impact our productivity. So if the new technology is used with its whole potential, we can reach or we can receive much more benefits than from the solutions before. But important thing is how we will use it.
Very cool. So foot on the pedal, you're still moving forward, and we're adding capability to cloud. We're adding more software, more services, really, and this is really the future, right? So moving back to the dealers, Robbie, you just came from working, as you said, from one of the manufacturers, and you were dealing with the dealers from the hardware side. Now that you're on this side of it, let's hear from you on what do you think as far as the value proposition for dealers and resellers going out there? What does this type of software, this cloud-based software from PaperCut, from MyQ, what do you think that adds to the dealer sales pitch?
The value prop behind that. I look at that question, I think about previous evolutions of our industry. Meter collection, used to have sneaker net, as I called it. You walk around and gather all your meters, or have customers call them in. Then we moved into remote monitoring, remote meter collection. We see continued diversification with our partners, cloud phone systems, cloud security systems. So this whole concept of print management in the cloud, I think, is one of the next evolutions where we're not so much even going to have to propose this to our customers. Our customers are going to demand this of us because they're educated, they're smart, they know what's available in the marketplace. So for our partners, for our dealers, for our resellers, I think they have to be prepared to answer that call sooner than later of the customers just simply saying, you have to have this in your portfolio or I'm not going to do business with you.
Good conversation, and that kind of sparked a nice little transition to the next phase of this panel. I want to talk about security a little bit. So you kind of touched on it, Robbie, and security being part of the value prop. I'll take it a little further and just say security right now is everything. It's one of the trends we're talking about that literally at all the shows. I just came back from CDA, SDG, American Co-op, all these peer group shows. And, one of the common presentations is security, and they're just scaring people to death. But that's kind of where we're at. I mean, you can't, I almost said pick up a newspaper, but you can't look online at news without seeing some major corporation got hacked. And these aren't like my little company. These are, big banks are getting hacked, and Target is getting hacked. Fortune 500 companies are getting it. So if it can happen at that level, right, it's a problem for everybody. And, printers are vulnerable. I don't care what brand you sell, they all have issues, and a layer of software on top of that, print management software especially, is another buffer. So Mark, looking at that, looking at security and what a huge opportunity, but also something so critical, what are some of the, I guess, critical features you think that every print management solution needs?
Yeah, it's a good question, right? And I mulled over this one a lot to figure out, like, what do we want to say here? And I'll be honest, I went off and phoned a friend, and I said, hey, Chris Dance, help me with this. And what do you think about security and where we need to be within your product? He kind of spun it on me, and it really made me think about, the product. We talk about PCI compliance, we talk about multi-factor authentication, we talk about hardening systems. In all reality, it's check boxes. Almost no matter where you're at in the world, whether it's print management or ERP systems or whatever, there's certain check boxes you have to meet for security features. You can have the best security features in the world, but if you don't have a team that knows how to roll it out to the customer, then it's nothing. You know, I've got electronic locks on all my doors here and I can do all this stuff. But if my kids leave and they leave the doors open, what good are the locks? What good are the security systems, right? And so what it comes down to is how well we can take these products and you know, ACDI and our team, how well can we educate our partners on what are the security features and how do you roll those out, right? And that's the thing that we have to continue to invest in the channel, in our channel partners. None of us would be anything today. We would not be here, all three of our companies, without this channel, right? And so that investment that we all make back to the channel to educate their reps, to educate their pre-sales teams, post-sales teams on, here are the security things you need to talk to your customer and figure out what is the best thing. You got to lock it down. If we're putting in print management, and we're putting in all these rules and routings about, great, here's all these security profiles. If they allow their users to print directly to the printers and bypass the servers, it's no good. So that education back to the channel to say, hey, let me look at your whole customer network. Let me look at everything that you have going on and show you how print management and the security aspects of print management and GDPR and all that kind of good stuff is going to help you. And then we'll roll it out, right? And on the second part of that, you got to have a company that's on the back end that really believes in security and adapts. There's kids out there getting hacked, you know, trying to hack systems all day long. You know, printing, we can talk about it being cloud-based all we want. There's always going to be a component that's on-prem. There's always that device, that peripheral that's sitting over here that somebody wants to see, can I get into that machine? Can I do something to disrupt what's happening at my university? And I'm going to send these flyers out to every single printer. You know, what can we do? So having a company that's behind you that continues to adapt their software, that continues to accept security vulnerabilities when they happen. Andy, you mentioned it, it's going to happen. You know, and we have to educate our partners that we got a great software, but you have to keep it updated. You have to continually apply patches. You have to continually stay on top of the software. If it's 4 years old sitting there, you're not secure. And that has nothing to do with the software. It's all about the customer and how you enable them to look at security from a holistic approach.
Well, I couldn't agree more. You know, I mean, you could have the most secure, impenetrable software that ever existed, which, by the way, obviously doesn't exist. But if it's not activated, if it's not updated, then it's, you know, it's vulnerable. And, you know, we've seen dealers have customers that they're providing security for them. They get hacked, and you just don't want it to be through the printer, and you definitely don't want it to be through the software that your dealers are providing, whether it's PaperCut, whether it's MyQ. Let's move on to you, Dom.
And Andy, let me I agree with you, right? We don't want it to be there.
Yeah.
But it's code. It's going to happen. There's something, you know, it's not just a singular piece of code you're working on. You're having to talk to the printer. You're having to talk to the firmware. You have to open up ports on the network to be able to communicate. There's so many different layers. So to say that it's never going to happen it's, you know, Bigfoot, people have seen it and all that, but we don't know where it's at. It's going to happen. There's going to be a breach, and it's how you respond to it. And I think that's the biggest thing in the channel. We have to respond quickly. We have to be open about these security vulnerabilities, things that happen, so that we can get out there and respond to them. And that's the value of what this channel can offer.
I agree. The dealers and the end users, for that matter, need to be made aware. If something happens, that needs to be communicated to the field immediately.
Correct.
And because you can't just leave equipment sitting out there uncovered. And while you're saying, you know, should we tell people, should we not? People just need to know, and
that's right.
It can happen to everybody. So just take your medicine. And let's help these customers get these patches. Make sure that they're updated. The products are updated. Dominic, moving on to you, how do you guys at ecoprintQ? It's not just PaperCut. You have all these other products that you also support. CU Mango behind you, and some of the others. You know, how does secure print management? How do you guys approach security as an offering and as just something that you're providing to dealers? How does this fit in with ecoprintQ?
Yeah, I'm very, very similar approach. I mean, we believe in a comprehensive approach, supporting our customers. Working closely with our partners to make sure, as you guys mentioned, staying on top of pending software patches. I mean, I'm going to drill that to the end of time because it's so important to stay up on your M&S, keep your product updated. And as I get into this conversation, we kind of talk about it in two different ways. One is an on-prem product, and then one is a cloud product. I mean, they both may have a different path of updating software, but at the end of the day, the most important piece of it is ultimately to keep your product updated. Some customers may decide to update it or not update it, but us as ecoprintQ, we have to continue to drive that message, the importance of it, and the value that they get out of keeping their products updated and their M&S active. So that's part of the software side, right? But then you take it to another side where we say the total solution. You know, when we're working with a reseller or dealer, you know, outside of the actual product itself, it's an understanding of, like we said earlier, is understanding the customer expectations, their requirements, their goals, and then offering a complete package solution that encompasses a security aspect to it. It could be based on, you know, just the basic things of providing card readers for authentication, maybe a VPN connection if they're doing a private cloud, right? Or maybe PIN authentication, dual factor authentication, secure print. There's just so many things that we can do based on understanding their environment and providing a comprehensive solution to attack the security needs.
Well, I mean, again, right, the common theme is if you're not updating, if you're not keeping these patches you know, updated, then you know, you're risking it. Your machines are sitting there, your assets are sitting on the network, they're not secure. And you know, if somebody finds them, if someone gets in, we just don't want you don't want to be, as a dealer, as a reseller, you don't ever want that IT person coming back to you saying, this is how they got in. Your security wasn't updated, your print management, your software, your cloud software, or your on-prem, whatever it wasn't updated, and that's how they got in. That's an expensive, can be, I would imagine, an expensive phone call to have to take. Martin, moving on to you, you know, what are some, especially because you're in the development side of it, you know, what do you see and what are you identifying as some of the security threats in print management specifically? And then how are you guys addressing them?
Yeah. I would maybe use one typical example or typical topic we speak about with every single customer when we compare on-prem and cloud product, right? Because I'm sure that everyone thinks that the cloud services are more dangerous because the application is no longer running on their own hardware, which is under their own control. Yeah, that's the standard concern of every customer. However, it's very often forgotten that, and it was mentioned now several times by you guys, that even such an application can be exploited, especially when it is not properly maintained. Yeah. And the maintenance is not important only. The maintenance is not how to say, important only for this specific application, but we need to think about operating systems. We need to think about other applications which are running on such a local environment, because the hacker can easily find the door from totally independent application and finally approach our application. So it's really easy for them to find the door when the whole system, the whole ecosystem is not properly maintained. And the trouble is that every organization wants to save the money, and they are trying to eliminate some people from their team, and they think that it's easy to install something, and it is easy. But they are losing the capability, you know, to professionally maintain the whole ecosystem, because they don't have the IT skills anymore, and then it simply can open more opportunities, you know, how this organization can face to some problems. So when we go back to the topic, finally we found together with our customers that when there is some let's say properly and quality cloud-based application regularly maintained directly by the vendor, so it means that they can outsource all those IT troubles to the vendor, who can immediately react to some things which will come. I totally agree with you that everything can be hacked, and everything probably will be hacked. The question is only the time and the place. And our role is to eliminate it as much as possible, and to provide our knowledge, you know, to eliminate those circumstances, or to immediately react when it happens. And I think this is the role of the vendor of such applications. because we can't say that we are unhackable, or it can't be the problem in our application, because every code can be hacked. It's the only question of the interest of the hacker. So when we speak with our customers, we can end with a very positive conclusion that for them, finally the cloud can bring less threats than on-prem environment. So this is our experience.
Well, and I would add to that in SMB, it's possibly even more critical because these customers often don't have an on-premises IT department, right? So they're really relying on partners, dealer partners, outside IT companies. It could be the same, but it could be, this company does my IT, my copier company is my copier company, but everybody's got to take responsibility for it. So let's get some feedback from you, Robbie, as this applies to the field. What's the opportunity for dealers with print management in your opinion?
It's funny the way you frame that for me, Andy, because it's almost going to sound like we rehearsed my response, but I promise the viewers, you and I did not do this. But when I look at it from the field perspective, keep it simple. We've talked about updating infrastructure, making sure patches are applied. You can look at different investments. You're talking about, I have this outside IT company, or some folks will say, I've got my nephew and he's my CIO. He takes care of it for me.
Yeah.
I frame it to the end users and the partners of ours who are selling these end users in a very simple way. What's the cost of mitigation versus the cost of litigation? Or now I've also added in there remediation.
Yeah.
Can your customers afford to not take this seriously? Yes, it is an investment. Yes, it does cost to maintain and have this infrastructure that keeps you secure. But what if that breach does happen? What if, your county government goes offline for 3 weeks and nothing gets processed? That happened recently. I live in the state of South Carolina, and there's a county near us where that's happened.
Yeah, ransomware. I mean, it happened to one of the major copier printer manufacturers in our world. One of the biggest, maybe the biggest one. We won't name names, but they had their website offline for a couple of months, I think, a year or two ago. So I mean, it can happen to them. It can happen at that level, right?
So I'm going to trademark that one: the cost of mitigation versus litigation or remediation.
I like that one.
Robbie already wrote that down, bud. I'm going to steal it, and I promise maybe to give you credit every now and then, but that was really good.
That little trademark logo on there.
Excellent. So we could do a whole show just on security, but we had 3 topics, and I want to move on to the third before we run out of time. And the third one's sustainability. My opinion, it's always been a little bit further ahead in Europe and maybe some other markets, but especially Europe. But in the US, we do follow, and it's not like we ignore it. So, they may be a couple of years ahead of us, but whatever happens there, we start to see becoming an issue here. And we're starting to see, I think, in my opinion, we're starting to see sustainability creep into RFPs, creep into, requests for the proposals. Companies are especially as this next generation gets in, I think it's becoming more critical. So we're going to start with you on this one, Dominic. How are you guys at ecoprintQ? How are you incorporating sustainability into your strategies, into your operations, and internally, but also for your customers? How is sustainability playing into what you guys do at ecoprintQ?
Yeah, it goes right back to offering the complete solution. The complete solution allows a customer to be more sustainable. And let me explain what I mean by that. Secure print, toner waste reduction. Then we have integrated scanning, maybe advanced capture, workflow solutions, reducing the carbon footprint into document storage, dynamic reporting and capabilities with our supported BI platforms. So Andy, I recently was doing some research on it, and polls and studies published recently that highlights 83% of the results said sustainability will be crucial by 2025. I mean, that's a big number.
It's coming.
So what are the other things that we're doing to be able to make sure our partners and our resellers are able to compete in that area, right? So we offer programs that enable organizations to actually plant trees more than their print consumes. So every print they print, a bulk amount of print, we can offer a program where a tree is planted. And we call that forest positive printing. So those are some of the things that we're doing on the sustainability side, Andy.
That's awesome. I love the whole tree thing. I've heard, anytime that we can add back to the environment instead of taking away, especially in an industry that's, kind of renowned for pulling trees out of the world. So that is awesome. Love that program. Mark, let's talk about driving sustainability in the print management market. What do you see from your customers? How is it playing in? How's it impacting what they do? And, are you seeing the increase, or is it just sort of kind of always been there? What do you think about the sustainability part of this?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I look back, being in this industry for 20 some odd years and all in print, in the early world of print management, it was a negative connotation in the dealer channel, right? You look at the principals. I don't know how many owners I've talked to, and they're like, I hate your software, right? I don't want to put print management out because you're doing the opposite of what we want. We want clicks. You're limiting clicks, and you're limiting our ability to sell and have revenue. And what we always try to implore to them is that we're not trying to get rid of clicks, right? We're trying to get rid of waste. Our goal is that there's not a waste basket sitting next to the printer and copier because people their print jobs are just sitting there. Somebody else comes, throws them in the recycle bin and goes, right? So it was always a matter of getting rid of the waste. Now today, print management is more print enablement. We're trying to enable people to print more. Are you a remote worker and you need to be able to print from home, no matter what network you're on, no matter what device you're on? That's what we want. And when you look at the sustainability aspect of that, it is printing what is needed, right? And so what we're seeing now more, Martin mentioned EV earlier, right? We're on the EV side of the business here at ACDI and offering that into the channel. But when you look at that and you put that together with print management, yes, we talked to the directors of procurement, but now we're talking to directors of sustainability. We had a big RFP that we were responding to in the print management world. It wasn't procurement that was leading it. It was the director of sustainability to talk about how can we put print management in here? How can it help us look at what Dominic said, being force positive, meeting our green initiative, the credits that are out there that companies need to get to meet their standards for their states and things like that. So that director of sustainability is going to play a bigger part in what we do today in our world moving forward. So you have to look at, what are you taking from the environment? What are you putting back into the environment, and how are you doing that responsibly? We have programs like PaperCut Grows, and then print relief. Andy, you've not been in this industry a long time. I mean, print relief has been out there forever. Yep. Great programs. Most all the OEMs are behind it. Dealers are behind it, saying, let us, no matter what geography you're in, we'll plant trees in Brazil. We'll put them here, wherever. We'll put it back into it. It's just about, are you really taking that initiative and talking to your customers about being green? If you're not, that director of sustainability is going to start knocking on the door and saying, hey, we need it, and it's part of what we have to do to move forward with your company.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. I've been to PaperCut's headquarters in Australia. I've been to visited you, Martin, at your 30th, your big 30th celebration last year, and I've seen sustainability at the motherships, right? I've seen how green you both your companies actually are, and how much of a part of your day-to-day. And again, it's some other countries handle this a little differently. It's clearly very, very important to people in Australia, very important to people in Europe. Martin, let's talk about the MyQ Sustainability Initiatives. How are these being received in the market, especially over there? What do you see as far as sustainability going forward? And is it going to increase in importance? Are we kind of at the top of it now? Where do you see it going, and how do you see MyQ playing into that?
Yeah, I think we consider sustainability every day when we develop our products and when we provide our services to our customers, and we really want to listen to their needs and to find the solution for their pains. And I would say that we took a slightly different approach to sustainability. We didn't want to limit ourselves to the negative impact of printing on the environment only, but we wanted to analyze all the negative factors that came to the market, especially during the pandemic. And I probably don't need to mention the significant drop in printing and logistical problems and shortage of printers and its components. But all of this upset the long-term balance between what providers were willing to sell their print services for and what customers were willing to buy. So it means the price for customers started to be very high because they started to print very low volume. So they lost they lost the attractivity for those services, and providers simply lost the profit or lost the possibility to sell at expected profit. And when we analyzed all those factors, we found that we could do something for this market, and we found the solution in print sharing. Yeah, because it showed us that it can be one of the really sustainable solution that can restore efficiency for all parties, and that can make a major contribution to the environmental protection. How? Because it can simply use significantly less printers more efficiently. And what does it mean? This is what we started to do 15 years ago, right? Because the main initiative of all those print management systems were to reduce local printers and to use in a more smart way the corridor machines, right? So you purchased 10 MFPs instead of 100 printers. Those MFPs were designed for higher volume, which you concentrated on those machines. You provided also additional benefits like security, etc., etc., and you started to operate more efficiently. So even with the same volume of printed pages, you were able to print them with a lower price per click because the more sophisticated machine was able to print more efficiently. And now, because of the cloud and because of all the topics we spoke about, we are able to do the same initiative for more organizations. So we can allow them to share one device, one more sophisticated device for, let's say, 3 independent companies, or for even personal usage. And this is, I think, it's absolutely fits to your ideas, guys, that you want to enable printing. And we think that this initiative is really, really similar because we can allow them to print wherever they need to print, and they don't need to take they don't need to take their own devices, or they don't need to purchase their own devices. It's like a scooter on the street, so you will use it right now when you really need it. You don't need to buy it, and you don't need to travel visit everywhere, and you don't need to think about the security if somebody will steal it, etc. Because you will really use it and pay for the usage when you want to travel from the restaurant to another bar, for example. So this is behind our initiative, and we really believe that when we help people and organizations to use less devices, then we can contribute to the environmental aspects much more, because probably they don't need to produce such an amount of cheap devices. So we will reduce plastics and all the things connected with the production, and finally everybody can be happy, and we will save even the space, because we don't need to have such an amount of devices. So this is behind our initiative. We are just in the middle. And we already tested this with the first customers. The response is very positive. We have also very skeptical feedbacks from, let's say, matadors in the industries who told us it will not work, it will not gonna work. We believe that there is totally different timing today, and the opportunity is totally there. So this is behind our let's say initiatives inside MyQ.
Well, that is fascinating. It'll be really interesting to watch that roll out over the next few years. Let's take that approach and everything that Martin just said. Robbie, what do you see in the field as far as sustainability? How is that influencing actual RFPs, especially in the Americas now? It's obviously where your bread and butter is, and where you grew up. How are you seeing this change and impact what dealers are able to sell now?
So I'm going to play off of something Mark said earlier. The director of sustainability is who he's seeing RFPs, bid responses coming from. And when I thought about this question, Mark also mentioned he phoned a friend. Well, I didn't phone a friend, but I went to Google and I typed in define sustainability. And I really liked the first thing that came back to me. It said the ability to be maintained at a certain rate or level. And the example they give was the sustainability of economic growth. So much of our conversation today around sustainability has been focused on the green initiative, that aspect of it. I almost want to challenge the status quo and say, yes, that is very important, the green aspect of sustainability, but the sustainability of economic growth. If we think about the hybrid or work from home environment now, that ability to maintain a certain rate or level, having those folks be able to be as effective at home or in the hybrid environment as if they were in the office full time. So I think that's almost the next iteration here again, if we're trying to be forward thinking about sustainability, is yes, we keep the green initiatives in place, but how do we help our end users, our consumers focus on sustainability of economic growth?
I couldn't agree more. And I'm going to throw an extra question and we'll go around. Just bonus question. So like this next generation coming up, very different than my generation. Sustainability is a much bigger deal. What do you think? Do you think this is going to impact? Mark, why don't you take that one and we'll go around the room. What do you think as far as this going forward, this next generation? Is sustainability really going to be that much more important? Is it just going to kind of be another part of the sale, or is it going to be part of, the leading part of the sale? Where do you think these guys are going to, where are their heads at?
Well, I've got 2 teenagers, right? And I got a daughter going off to college right now. And so I can tell you that she is green as green can be, right? So, but it's back to, Robbie, I love what you said. I think that they are going to look at it from all aspects, right? They've come up in the world where, Andy, you mentioned it early on when we were all talking about, greenhouse gases and global warming and all that kind of stuff. It's been in their face. It's on their phones every day, and what they're hearing in real-time news, whether it be real or not so real. Right. So I think that it is going to be top of mind for them as they come in and start leading companies, as they come in and becoming a bigger part of the workforce, that they will look to sustainability, both from an economic standpoint and from a green initiative. I think they go hand in hand. My daughter is dying for me to get her a Tesla so she can plug in and drive EV. Right. But my son still wants to drive a truck. And so there's a balance. And I think that we have to continue to look at that. What is the balance? Print, Martin, you said it. Nobody needs to talk about it declining. It is, but it's kind of leveling off. There's still needs. My kids still print. They're still launching things. You don't want to read a 5-page document on their phone. They'll print it off and they'll start, sitting down with it or whatever. So I think it is going to continue to drive our industry and our partners. But our partners are also bringing on younger talent, and that sales force, that new younger sales force, they have that top of mind anyway. And so it's just kind of fitting right along.
They are different. Dominic, what do you think? Because and you've got a bunch of people in that generation working there. I met a lot of them at your conference, and so how is the sustainability part of this creeping into your day to day and this next generation? What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I have to agree with Mark. I think it's actually happening sooner than we realize. I mean, that statistic that I pointed out earlier, 83 to 85% people talking that how important it is. Younger generation, news travels, data travels, awareness is more available. Kids are always, younger generation are on these things all day long. I have to put restrictions on my young kids' phones, because if not, they'll sleep with their phone to their head like this or like this. So, and all of that is messaging behind of what they're able to identify. Sustainability, green initiatives, global awareness, all of that is top of mind, and I don't see it going away.
Martin, what do you think as far as your side of the pond? Are your millennials, are your this next generation, Gen Z, are these guys, is environmental as important to them as it is to this upcoming group here? Is it more so? What are you seeing over there?
Yeah, I can agree with you guys that what you feel in America, it's totally the same here in Europe. So younger generation definitely is greener than we were in the past, and maybe where we are still. And so one thing, they are definitely greener. Second thing, they don't want to purchase so much, or they don't want even to own a lot of properties, because nowadays you can enjoy your life, when you have a time and when you have a money, you can You can rent whatever you want, whatever flat car, whatever. And when you don't need it, you can just return it and don't have troubles with the maintenance, etc. So I think this is very important factor which influence the new generation. Another thing is that they want to have everything immediately. They I would say they don't have the patience like we had in the past, so they don't want to wait 10 years or 15 years to be the owner of something, because they can simply achieve it within 1 year, but they can just use it for a small time, because they can as I told you, they can just rent it when they need. So so this is what those trends we found, and I can see it also at my children. So nothing special or no big difference from your country.
So this has just been awesome. I appreciate you guys taking the time out. We're just going to go around the room real quick, summarize. We talked about cloud, security, sustainability. Robbie, you got cut off on that last one. You didn't get to chime in, so we'll start with you. Any wrap up thoughts on this? You know, you're new to this role here. You've got a lot of industry experience, but give us your final thoughts on today's chat.
You know, I recently purchased a new vehicle, and it tied into that last question that you asked. The dichotomy of where we're at. When I purchased that vehicle, they had a tablet, I signed everything electronically, but then they printed it all out and gave me a copy of it. And now it's kind of like, okay, well, good try, guys. You know, you're getting there, you're going in that direction. And the irony behind it is, while I was waiting, of course, I spoke to them about what I do. And we spoke about green initiatives and things like that. This particular car manufacturer is very strong in that initiative. So I did appreciate the fact that we completed it electronically, but then they printed it out and handed it to me. So to your last point, I think they're getting there. It's going to continue to move that direction. So we just have to be prepared to go along with it and make sure we're accommodating both the new workforce while still satisfying the legacy workforce as well.
Yep, agreed. Mark, how about you?
Yeah, so, you know, for us, you know, when you look at these initiatives, it's kind of replacing the old talk track. It used to be speeds and deeds. It's not that anymore, right? It's very difficult for us to look at a printed page and say, all right, did this come out on a manufacturer A, B, or C, right? It's not what we are. So it's in enabling the dealers and their reps a new way to communicate with their customers, more consultative. Let's talk about cloud. Let's talk about sustainability or security. And as a matter of fact, it just opens up them to add new products. You know, these dealers continue to expand and want to add more than just print into an environment, into a particular customer. And so by having these conversations, whether it's around print management, ERPs, printing, faxing, whatever that may be, it enables them to put more products out there. And I think that that's the value of what we're doing today. We're educating the channel, educating our own team so that they can go talk to their customers and become all things to them, that true value-added reseller, not just a copier dealer.
Very cool. Excellent response, Mark. How about you, Dominic?
Yeah, sustainability, cloud, security, all important topics that we deal with every day, and they're not going away. Keeping our customers' security in mind is top priority, both from external and internal threats behind firewalls. We found some verticals, when it relates to sustainability, are more aware than others, i.e. maybe credits for healthcare. You know, it's not going away. All customers at one point have considered cloud, if they haven't done so already, or will consider it in the near future. Who knows what that entails, right? At the end of the day, whether it's cloud, sustainability, or security, you know, my advice would be to engage your trusted advisor. That's how we make the difference.
Well, that is the differentiator from selling just boxes to having a truly consultative sales process that really takes the customer needs into account, and you're not just shoving a box in there, you're really customizing the solution. So Martin, we'll wrap up with you and get your final thoughts.
Yeah, I would probably recommend or advise one simple thing. When you think about new technology or new product or whatever, it's always good, to try to understand how it is different and what it can bring to you. So if you migrate from vehicle to EV, you shouldn't be focused only on the handicaps, but you should think about the benefits which can bring to you, and you will find a lot of benefits which can make your life easier. And it's not connected just with the limitation of the battery or whatever. There can be so many of very positive things which finally you can fall in love. I'm the owner of EV, so I can prove you that when I switched from the standard vehicle and it was sport car, I found that it can be even more interesting, this vehicle, for me and my lifestyle. So this simple formula can work with every technology. And and we are now in the wave of ChatGPT and everything, and you will see that it will be not just the smart browser. We need to start to think how we can use this technology differently. And cloud is not, or cloud management is not the different. So when you focus only on the troubles or limitations, it can look that such a application is limited. But if you think about the whole potential, and if you really verify all the things you can achieve with this application or new style of application, you can finally find that you can receive more benefits than with the old-fashioned on-prem solution. So that's just the recommendation. Try to explore the whole potential of new things.
Great
Hey,
response.
Martin, if your company needs some extra EV chargers or you need some at home, I know some people. We have this energy services here at ACDI. We'd love to help you out. We'll ship you a bunch over to Prague. We'll get them installed for you.
That's great. That's great.
Great plug there.
Speak about it.
This has been an absolute pleasure. You guys are the best. Again, representing two of the most significant organizations in print management, and it was just great, getting your perspective, your feedback, and just climbing in your head, seeing where we all see this industry going. And I appreciate your time, and we will catch up soon. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Andy.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.